Hi, and welcome to Soccer iQTV. I'm Dan Blank, college soccer coach and author of the Soccer IQ series of books. Today we're going to talk a little bit about slide tackling. At least once a season, I have a player come up to me and ask me how to teach her how to slide tackle. And to be honest, it's not something I've ever been really good at. I mean, at least the teaching part of it. Slide tackling is very difficult to teach because you can't really slow it down. Typically when we teach a soccer technique, we can go in exceptionally slow motion to demonstrate. But with slide tackling, where gravity is involved, it's very difficult to do a slow motion slide tackle to give players kind of the idea of the technique. So what I found is that by the time a player gets to college, she either already can slide tackle or she can't. And there's not going to be a whole lot I can do to help her get better at it. Now, for the players who already can slide, they already understand the mechanics of sliding, we can take a player like that and we can make her a more effective tackler of the ball if we just sort of teach her the objective and the technique and how to make these little adjustments. So there's a couple of objectives when it comes to going to ground to slide tackle the ball. It might be to just nick the ball away. You might be just trying to nick it away from the attacker, nick it out of bounds, just getting it away from the player on the ball. That's a valid objective. Another one could be you just need to blow things up, right? It's just time for, if there's a 50-50 ball and we just got to go in hard and hope that the ball either ends up with us or one of our teammates as opposed to the player who you're going into that tackle against. The third objective, and what I most want to talk about today, is learning to slide tackle so that we come away with possession of the ball. And there's a very simple technical tweak we can make that puts us in a better spot, and we end up more likely not just to blow up the tackle, but to actually maintain possession of the ball as we come out of the tackle. And that's what we're going to look at today. So we're going to look at one player from several different games, and we're going to see some really good examples and some different uses of slide tackling. And we're going to show you why she's very good at sliding to take possession of the ball. All right, so in our first clip, we're going to keep an eye on the player in the black. We're going to see her go into ground twice in a row. And let's take a look at some of the different things we're doing here. So this first tackle, that is an attempt to keep possession. And what she's done is she's used the opponent's momentum against her. And what that creates is another 50-50 ball with this other player in white. Now this player puts on the brakes and just try to make herself big and strong. And so at this point, the objective becomes to just try to blow things up. And we see the player in black going hard and just try to knock the ball somewhere else. Okay, so we saw an attempt to take possession. We also saw an attempt to blow things up. So one technical point I want to mention here is you'll notice this player, every time she goes to ground, her legs swing. She's coming down on the ball. She's swinging down on the ball. If you think of the ball as a globe, and you know the equator runs right through the middle of it, we want to strike from north of the equator and drive force down towards the ground. If you come in under the equator, likely chance that what's going to happen is the ball is just going to roll right over your foot. So we want to start high and then swing down and kind of hit that top third of the ball. That's where we want to make our major point of contact. In this next clip, we're going to talk about sliding specifically to take possession of the ball. We're going to get a look at this at game speed, and then we'll go back and look at it in slow-mo. So we see she goes to ground, and she comes away cleanly with the ball. And ideally, if we can tackle to that end, that's ultimately what we would love to see happen. So let's take a look at her technique here. What we're going to talk about is stacking your legs, okay? So as she goes to ground, you see how she's put 2 feet behind the ball? She's built herself a little bit of a wall there, and she goes in hard. If you're going to go to ground, you go in hard regardless, but you try to put a bigger surface behind the ball, and you try to make that surface strong enough that it's going to withstand the opponent's momentum and let the opponent go flying by. That's sort of what happens here, right? She builds a wall behind the ball. The opponent goes sailing by. She stands up with the ball at her feet. Okay, so here's another clip of, again, the same player. And we're going to watch her track this ball down from behind, tackle, go to ground, and come away with the ball again. Nice job to win possession, gets her shot off. Now let's take a look at it again in slow motion. And look how she gets so much of her body behind the ball. She builds a wall with her legs, and that enables her to withstand the force, the momentum of the opponent, and the opponent's momentum carries her by. Our player stands straight up and gets a good shot off. Here's another look at it in slow motion. And you get a real good look at how she stacks her legs right there. All right, she basically has caught the ball between her knees there. She's got it wedged in there so tightly that there's nothing that the opponent can do about it. And again, the opponent's momentum is going to carry her out of the equation. Our player stands up, possession of the ball. And that's ultimately, if we can go to ground and come away with the ball, that's the biggest win we can hope for. So as you can see, slide tackling is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. There are different techniques for different objectives. And ultimately, if we have a player who has the mechanics of slide tackling, we can kind of improve upon that and have them strive towards learning how to stack their legs to not just go to ground, but to go to ground and come away with possession of the ball. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Soccer IQ TV, and I will see you next time.